Like your escape. You still smell like the dirt.
Yeah. I gotta stop partying. I think that made it on YouTube.
Hello, friendly club. Did you call me Roger, not your phone?
Yeah, I did. No, I just said night.
Which is the opposite of what Renee just told me.
Oh,
Yeah. Would you mind leading us in the pledge of allegiance?
I'd be happy to, thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Four-way packed. How about you, Wes Crockett? See what I did there?
Tricky.
The four-way pack, the way I interact with others. First,
I'll have the courage to tell the whole truth. I'll be kind in the way I tell it. I will be fair and not seek selfish advantage. I'll have an open heart and an open mind. And Jack, could you lead us in the invocation?
We can bow our heads. Dear God, we give thanks for this day and for the guests that are with us. And we ask a blessing on the Rotarians here and around the world and the projects that they're involved with. Bless this food and this meeting to our use. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen. So have a seat and soon we will introduce guests.
I would be so disappointed. So Wes, I'm Fred. That's what I. Other one? I got one check. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cost 100. You know that I think I got to gotta get there's a whole table. Some of that bird. That price. Getting the thing where this is.
Let me know what this is to be. Oh, the weight doing? He wanted, you want the pretend? He wanted to do this, carnivore, what do you want? The white one. He wanted to do this carnivore diet, but it says you can't start it right away, like fully, because your stomach will be like yelling at you. For like protein and just like a lot of stuff. So he started doing, and he was so angry last night. He was like, I wish you wouldn't have told him no. You're doing so good. In the morning. Well, in the morning he's eating. But see, what he's doing is calorie thing, which is not the same as the diet he was to do. Because on this, whatever, what did I say, carnivore diet, there's like tons and tons of protein, so that you know you get told, right? But he's doing the opposite right now, because he's not doing that carnivore. And he's having in the morning leaves, having like eggs and bacon, he's making breakfast. But for lunch, he takes like rolled up cheese, like 3 or 4 pieces of lunch, a lot. And maybe having an avocado or like protein, you know, like Greek yogurt or something. So by the time dinner comes around, he's like a raving man. But we're cooking, you know, he's not doing carbs, so he's cooking Dude. And all that other stuff was in the calories. Like, somebody's coming in. He was so good. I said, this isn't. I mean,
I would have taken out a regular.
we'll see how others laugh. But so, like, I'm the one freaking out after dinner. I had like a and I didn't say no correct. I'm sorry. What are you doing? Watching what you're. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, and I sent someone to you. A client of mine is looking at revamping a resume and interviewing, and so I gave him your number and these people would.
Any chocolate? I've done one. I went to the one in Tahoe with you. Deciding president.
Are you doing it? What are you doing for exercise?
About 4 years ago now. I do workout that guys. And one came up with clean break. And it's
Just at nothing?
Free membership. Yeah, the first one that I did was that guy, the big guy in the bad guy was behind me, working out.
Like doing it?
Yeah. I'll be going. And then I kind of regressed. Like, no, I'm not doing it.
Like for the 30?
Yeah, so now it's like morning I didn't even. But Wednesday I did pretty progress because at that time. Tomorrow I'll probably do 15 minutes.
Yeah. Good cardio. 50 minutes, right?
One day I got a meeting or something. I'll probably do this. My 30 minutes is when I'm not ready, but I have time.
You have to know you have to do it. Is it every day though? No.
I try. I don't beat myself up.
Well, you know, I think that it's all about mindfulness, right? So you know you've done your work, something I've done that, I don't want to ruin the fact that I'm working out and then put something in the middle, right? That's it all out. So it's kind of they play off. Good. At one point in time, when I was when I turned 50, I lost to take it all. And at the time, I was like it was talk myself and like hard to gain a few pounds. And now I'm like
Pick up your stuff for happy year.
Am I ready? Has anybody done it about that? What? Well, they're really good. It's like a cabbage soup, but it has things like this, like one kind of everyone's dressed in like size stuff. It makes me feel so we decide to bring it back on we're like, who would be on
Are there any guests today? Okay, you mind introducing?
Hi, everyone. I brought my husband Rick today as my guest. He's going to be helping me do our presentation. So,
All right. Welcome. I think that's it, right?
It will.
Do you have any announcements?
So everybody should have just gotten their most recent invoice. That is the last invoice of the old way of doing billing. So, which will probably come out the first or second week of February, because I think our last meeting is the 31st this month. In February, everyone will get billed at least $80, whether you come to a single lunch or not, because it will be $50 the dues and $30 for the fun and frolic. Then if you also go to lunch, you're gonna get billed for your lunch unless you otherwise. Yeah. What did I say? Friends of $30 for Friends of the Foundation.
Thank you.
$50 for dues and $30 for the foundation. Then the next month will be just $50 for the dues plus your lunch.
This isn't that long an announcement, but I'm gonna use the mic anyway. As our fearless chair of our Caribbean adventure, at least I hope Tom's fearless about it, reminded us we're just 2 months out from the biggest event of the year for our club. Woo woo! And so far I have 3, count them, 3 only silent auction items. Actually, I think 4. There may be 4. Okay, see, we need to begin to get those in, because much as I love this club, I do not want to be up all night, the night before the classic, entering the silent auction stuff. So, start bringing it in. Yeah.
Suggestions on what we should bring in.
Well, one of the things I just got today was a $100 gift card. Those are great. Any local merchant, hit them up, even if it's, if it's not a gift card, it doesn't have to be a restaurant to get a gift card. See what they'd be willing to give. We made pretty good money on some things that I thought were unusual last year, like a vacuum cleaner. It got bid up probably more than it was worth, but we took it. So, think creatively. Also, if you've got any things you're going to do, Gillette is a great example, doing the special event for the winners. Somebody that's willing to cook and serve a meal. somebody that's willing to do whatever, put it out there. Those are also very popular items. You had something, Linda.
I've got a signed Bears jersey, but I don't know who the player is, because I don't know.
Oh, is that the one with the paper bag over there?
Somebody just gave it to me. So,
Bears items this year may not be the best
I
seller.
know. Save it for next time. Yeah.
If anybody's got Detroit Lion paraphernalia. Anyway, and I will send out an email like we did last year with some ideas for what might make interesting gifts. We will be doing baskets, so it doesn't have to be a giant item. We can combine it with other things. But we'd love to have some bigger standalone items because they generate a lot of interest. And those were the ones that we saw getting bid up last year. Kind of a couple of people actually want it and we're going after it. So thank you.
So again, on the classic, I'm collecting tickets. Barry's collecting tickets and Gail's collecting tickets. But since none of them are here, I'm the only one collecting tickets.
We'll give it to you then.
Thank you.
Hello, friendly club.
So we have our January fellowship event. We didn't have any of the groups plan anything, so we just decided to do, you have a flyer on your tables, just a little outing at I Smell Bacon.
Have you ever heard of it? Brand new by 59 and 72. It's a barbecue restaurant.
Yes.
And they do
Kosher
have
bacon.
alcohol there as well. So we thought it could be kind of fun to hang out there and play some trivia and just hang out.
So make sure your groups are giving us what events you want to do for February, March, April, and so on. So we can start planning for that.
Yes, sir.
Will you send that out in an email or something?
We can give it to the buzz. Yep. Thank you.
To invite you to this year's Caribbean Classic happening Martin and Nancy. The tropical oasis, lovely music, tropical vibes, pro artists, and a chance to win our $10,000 grand prize. Plus, every dollar paid supports charity rides right here in our community. Mark your calendar for a round lunch, and let's make this a night to remember. See you at the Oasis.
Yeah, so keep that all in mind. When you see it on social media, share it. Like it, share it, redo it, do whatever you want with it. This will be going out at least once a week with a different video of some kind. This is the intro video. Natalie Martinez is going to Turks and Caicos in 2 weeks, and she is going to do a promo on the beach for us. So that should be kind of fun. And we'll just keep doing that. You'll see that the steel drums, because that is our steel drum player. His whole band is going to be at the classic. There is a classic meeting after this meeting today at 1:35 or so. Whenever we get organized, it'll be right here, so it makes it a lot easier. And any ideas, anything that comes up, feel free to contact me. But we are, it's rolling. It's starting to gain some momentum. We've gotten some really nice sponsorships. I actually got the greatest sell job I've ever done is to my own accounting firm is going to sponsor $2,500. Yeah. So I never thought it would happen, but now I can sell anything. So if I could get a sponsorship like that, anybody can. And we've got sponsorship info for you. I sent out an email earlier. It's got a couple of letters that you can make better and make it sound like yourself and send it out. Alan does does an amazing job of sending out emails, and, you know, all of a sudden he sends out, you know, 10, 12 emails, and then we get, you know, tickets being bought online and other things. So it does work. You just got to actually tell people about it. So keep up the good work.
Panama Canal is in the Gulf.
Will be.
About Pearl Harbor. He's on a roll. He's on a roll. So we haven't met in a long time, and we had the holidays, so I know there's a lot of happy people out there. Who happy? Miss Justice. Can you collect as well?
I'm doing the buzz.
Then don't be the first person. No, go ahead. What are you happy with?
I have $3 happy because last week I sent out an email to the club asking for help. Creating the buzz while James Schlinker is having fun in the sun. And I had a wonderful response. A lot of people responded, and Bob, Jean, and Mary Mizia stepped up, and they're each taking a week.
I can't wait to go on email. Okay, that's great. Alan.
I have $5 for my Detroit Lions.
Right. Don.
I got $5. I was over at Paulina High School this week. We got 15 applications for a vocational scholarship.
Mike.
I have $10.50 for a wonderful birthday present I got. My son decided to give the club money. Have my company be a sponsor. That was my birthday present.
That's very good. So I just had to relate a real quick story. Mike and Cheryl and Renee and I were out to dinner, and we were talking about different things and vacations and stuff. And Mike said once I was on vacation with some Rotarians in Jamaica, and we found out that there was a Rotary meeting going on. And I said, "So did you go to it?" Renee goes, "Are you kidding me? What do you think?" Yeah, he went to it. So I'll give $5 for the opportunity. Okay, who else is happy? Nobody else is happy.
Gotta look up.
I'm sorry, Mary. Go ahead.
I'm happy because for Thanksgiving, I got to spend that in Texas with my daughter. For Christmas, I got to spend it in Arizona with my son, his wife, and their 2 little girls. And $3 for the Lions for a total of 10.
That's Lions, but not the Kiwanis? Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Moon.
I have $40 so that you guys don't pester me anymore with these silly things. They're not really very silly, but still here. I'm going to Arizona until May.
Oh.
We'll miss you. Gene.
$2. So I want to wish everybody happy New Year. Hopefully everybody has a prosperous New Year. And then $2 for my daughter Bailey. She's going to be the Les Mis is going very well. She's very excited about it. And in the next couple of weeks, at the end of the month, is when they'll be performing at the Prairie Art Center. So we're all very excited about it.
Fantastic.
I'm $10 happy. Not in any order of how happy I am, my dollars, but I'm happy for Detroit Lions, super excited about them. I'm happy for my neighbor who just had a really successful surgery and he was super scared about it. He's doing my kids got to come visit this holiday, so I got to go see my son, and my daughter came here, so I had a great birthday. Even my biggest happiness was probably how well Shop at the Pop was run. Thankful for all the people who volunteered from here to help me. It was the best Shop at the Cop that I've ever had before, because thank you, Alan, for bringing Shop at the Cop to me. Thank you. All the people came out and just did amazing things to make this be so great.
I'm $2 happier because my NIU Huskies are getting closer and closer to winning the national championship.
The transitive.
Yes.
Sweethearts.
This is for the week.
May 15th of last week.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we have about 45 weeks to do, so get comfortable.
Right,
Must be present, I mean, lowest number.
lowest number is number 10.
$5,638. Oh, no. Yeah, he's right there.
This is where I cut myself.
Be careful.
7 of clubs.
7 o'clock. Sorry, Holly.
Hold on, hold on.
Linda Dressler.
$37.
37.
37. That was Billy White Shoes Johnson's number for the Dallas Cowboys in the 7th.
I knew that. That's why I picked it.
Just don't double check. I'm making.
Is it the truth?
And just like the Cowboys in the 2025s, it's wrong. And now this is this week.
Cherry Park, lowest number available.
It's number 15. And it is a 4
No.
of hearts.
Wah, wah. All right, let's enjoy lunch for a little bit.
Thank you, Roger.
Hey, Rick, you guys want to turn on this to make sure it works? Hold on, no. Let's do this second. It's a bad thing. That worked.
Come on your plate and it gave so much bite.
You're not on yet. I just wanted to make sure. It worked.
Yeah, no worries. Where are you going?
Oh, my God. This is gonna be great.
No one gets it, you'll do a whole nother thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
Oh, yeah, I did see that on my AMC.
Are you interested in that? Big man?
It's that, that's British, right?
Yeah.
About a
another-
British.
another based on a true story I got over the month. I wanted to set for weekend, so maybe we can look at that. Because I have nothing on my schedule this weekend, but if I'm listening to play, that changed.
Let us know how the back door was, because Wayne wants. That is gonna be. A fruit or something.
What is it?
It was brutal, but you know what?
Yeah, they were there.
That was wonderful.
I love
Well. Oh, on the outside. I was like, oh.
Linus was good.
I want to.
The sausage is a little lucky. Yeah. One bite. One bite.
Undercover area. A terrorist wife or terrorist girlfriend. Well known, so that's one of the.
I mean, like, soups and MCIS.
Oh, yes.
Hey guys, I want to ask you guys your opinion on something. You remember during the 50th anniversary classic, Chris Inosa got that antique toy car.
Yeah.
With a kind of below the pedal like that. He completely restored it. He painted it, custom painted it, rotary blue, right? And then put rotary 50th anniversary stickers on it. And I think that was the 2020 toast, which was slightly or maybe even canceled. Right? It was in the heart of COVID. Because 19 was the one we canceled right at the last second, right? It was 21. Yeah. And then 21 then was lightly expensive, whatever. Anyway, for whatever reason, if you remember, it didn't sell. And then I gave some money towards the club. I asked Chris if it was okay. So I have that. Do you think it would be, is that something that we should re-enter now that we have a bigger crowd or?
Yeah,
I mean, do you think?
Why not?
I mean, I think the reason why it didn't sell like we thought it was, is I don't think it was. Yeah.
Totally doesn't sell.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can actually eyeball it.
Yeah, so I think it would be a silent auction item, I think.
Yeah.
I'll drive it there.
I get on that.
Yeah, I'll drive it there.
You have a license.
And it really was an antique.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Something
I think so, but I bought. Yeah.
I'm not having any more. I just started it. So how do I take it?
Yes, with the.
Oh, yeah, but you know.
Great. The driveway on the street.
I don't need to take it home, so I'll take it for just once. Okay.
You were here last night.
How was that? Yeah.
Tim, after
Oh,
I started to watch
Either you gotta be super.
They decide on what they wanted.
The first one was incredible.
Are you, you're the groom, right, so are you putting the barbell?
That's not how it works.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. Who said that there was the way Carlberg did it for me, which was a long time ago. I regret it.
So.
Pretty much all inclusive. Decided to
And she can run a choice. When Billy Bob Thornton said, if you have to.
Yeah, I've started out with the eldest at a really bad case, which means that we and I will be living in our car. If I follow through, the others are the same way. I am the same way.
Two of mine took me $10,000 each.
I never.
So then when they all got married, I gave them $10 for their wedding.
Billy Bob Thornton, incredible.
It's so funny. I haven't watched the whole great woman. Albanian. Had everybody go out.
Little nuances, so. They seem to be arguing with their whole family. But. So we gave them. And all of those people that's good.
Now for something completely different, Mr. Alan Gate. Alan Gate, Mr. Alan Gate. Laugh or suffer the consequence.
Thinking about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, and us, we are starting a new year, and I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday season. Very, very happy and healthy year. And Ted made a Freudian. Oh, I need a couple people to collect, please. I know some people still pay by cash, old fashioned. I
don't need three of them.
And Wes, are you leaving? Or?
No, I was gonna take a picture of this thing I paid.
Okay, so Ted made a Freudian slip about the bill having fun and frolic like for $30. So if you think about it, that's $30 for a month, right? So that's less than what we really should be collecting. So we missed a couple of weeks. So Rogers had to balance the budget. I have to break one of my New Year's resolutions. My resolution is going to be I was going to be really nice, kind, for fun and frolic.
You gotta be kidding.
Well, I broke it. How many people here made New Year's resolution? I'm going to find you just yes. Okay. And this is the truth. Okay. I'm not going to ask who it is, but if you've already broken your New Year's resolution, that's the best. If you didn't make a New Year's resolution, that'll be $2. Come on, people. That's we have an interesting, like one of the cats in Rotary now is a company can be a member of the club, right, Roger? Right. So we have of Paulina and Rick. So technically Rick is not a, but Paulina introduced him as a. So I don't mind you, yeah, I'll find you both. That's $2. And Jack, $2 part of your vacation was welcoming all the guests, but we didn't have any. So that's $2 also. If you have not had a hip replacement in the last 6 months, that'll be $2.
Something in the water.
So I'm glad everybody's so frisky. I'm glad to welcome back the king of pickleball, Jeff Miller. We missed you, Jeff. How many meetings have you missed?
I think I was out for the Christmas one. I don't think I missed that.
Okay.
Other than ones we had lost.
Okay, fine. So how many pickleball matches have you had lately?
I just got back from Australia. I'm glad you asked.
Do they play pickleball now?
Didn't hear about the big tour, but yeah, I was on tour there.
Okay, good. So toilets, bowls go the other way the water goes. So when you play pickleball and you spin the ball, does it spin the opposite direction? Okay, fine. That's $5. You put your jacket on the back of your chair. That's $5.
Oh, wow.
It's not fair to the wait staff. They have to climb over it, and it's not really. If you are a professional football fan and your team is not in the playoffs, that's $2.
Oh, Ravens.
Lions.
If your team is in the playoffs and they don't have a bye, that's $2. I just said, if you're not a professional football fan, that's anti-American, so that's $2. Speaking of anti-American, Tom. No, Tom, I want to stand up. I want to congratulate you on all the weight you lost. You're looking really good. Keep it up. How much have you lost in the last 6 months?
I don't know, I don't keep track. It's just slipping off of me, melting.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
The easiest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
No, looking at you, looks like you lost Paulina. Okay. So speaking of Tom, if you did not turn in classics today, raffle tickets. That's $2. If you didn't sell any plastic tickets at all, that's $5. This is our big fundraiser. This allows us to do all the things that we can do. So Jeff Miller, I already did pickleball. If there's going to be a classic meeting this afternoon, if you're not going to attend the meeting, it's $2. If you did not volunteer for Shop with a Cop, that's $2. And Roger Smith, where are you? Don't turn your back on me. White Shoes Johnson did not play for the Dallas Cowboys with that number. He played for the Houston Oilers.
Fact checker.
Right state.
Yeah, okay, fine. So that's $5. So are there any other Bubba mites you want to tell us? Okay. Bubba mites. That's Yiddish for life. That's like a tall. A tale, a grandma story. Okay, so if anybody been fine,
I don't think
so.
okay, if you've not been fine today, so why don't you just contribute $5 to the club? Thank you very much, and I can't wait to hear our program today. It's going to be really exciting.
By the way, he was number 84. For those of you like accuracy. I'm voting on.
What's birthday? Happy birthday. Oh,
It's always good to get acknowledged for your weight loss.
And then you have to pay. All it's whatever they, it's left over to say. Oh, they did it? That
About 5 minutes.
So yeah, Brad is doing things that he's recently killed his cell or only he's gonna put himself in the box where he's
On purpose?
yeah, but particularly he might fall apart here. Why don't they do another occasion? Oh, it sounded like you just did.
He is just perfect. One thing that's so crazy. They were getting ready to go out.
With that one shaking in the wind. But it's just like anything to get to that. Yeah.
That's Carlberg. Up here. Talk about Paulina and Radon.
Yeah.
Is this you?
No.
Okay, Happy New Year, everybody. It's nice to see everyone. I had a chance to catch up with some folks earlier and it's really good to be back. So, thank you. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to share our the Christmas card is a pretty recent picture of what our family looks like today. So those are our two sons, Nathan, nephew, Nate 24, Matthew's 12. Our story really began 45 years ago in a math class at Streamwood High School where Paulina and I first met.
Oh.
Long time.
Hold on just for a second. I'm supposed to be seeing something here, but I don't see it. Oh, that's not it. Oh, is that it? Okay. So I'd like to say from me, happy New Year to all our families from ours. That's our family. That's our son Nathan and Matthew, and our baby girl Gracie. So ours begins in the 1980 something, when Rick and I first met in high school. We were in math class together, and this is a picture of us at Rick's senior. As a sophomore.
I tell them why.
And not because he wasn't a good guy, but really because he was my first car date. He was drunk at the time. I was only so it was a big deal for us. And he had a big brown station wagon, which didn't help things any. From a parental standpoint, right. No. But at least he didn't have the conversion van. So Rick and I were together for about like 7 years on and off through high school and college. And then we decided to go our own separate ways. And in those 10 years, and 10 years like went by, and during those 10 years, I
graduated from Loyola University with a degree in finance. I worked for D. Witter as a municipal bond trader and a financial planner. I then moved on to Montgomery Ward as an associate buyer, and then I went on to the Warehouse Club, also in a buying position. So I was busy over those 10 years. I wasn't pining away for him.
Aw.
I didn't know. No, I was not pining away. I was a little angry, but anyway, we won't go into that. Anyway, fast forward to 1987 when I am at a restaurant with my boyfriend at the time, and we are literally breaking up at this restaurant.
Oh, no.
I get up to go to the washroom and I run into Rick's parents at this restaurant. And we start chatting and they're like, hey, did you ever get married? And I'm like, no, I didn't get married. And they're like, neither did Rick. You should call him. And I did. So the next 5 years were really busy for us. We got married in 1999. We bought our first home in Hoffman Estates in 2000. Our first son Nathan was born in 2000. Rick at the time had a remodeling company that he had for quite a number of years, but we dissolved that company and he started his new company, the House Doctors Property Inspection. And then we had our second blessing of Matthew in 2004. I'll let Rick talk about his.
Yeah, so how I got there, my background's in general contracting. So like she said, I opened my business in the early 90s. And 8 years later, I realized I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I was actually at a job site one day and there was a truck parked across the street and it had home inspection signage on it. So I went across the street and talked to this person. And after a 20-minute conversation, I came home and said, we're going in a different direction. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do at that point. We had recently, like she said, we just got married. We just bought a house. We had our first child. And so why not switch careers, right? Why not just get it all done at the same time? So she was really supportive because she knew I wasn't doing what I was doing and it wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So soon after like she said, we closed down the business and I spent the next 15 years building the inspection business by myself. And then Paulina joined me in 2016 after working in business as a personal trainer and health coach for the 25 years prior.
So like Rick mentioned, I was a personal trainer, actually went back to school, got my master's degree in exercise physiology and started my own in-home personal training business, which I was very passionate about and did it for 25 years. And then in 2016, Rick started to grow. Well, his business started to expand because he was doing for 15 years. And he decided to start offering ancillary services like radon testing. So when you're doing radon testing during a real estate transaction, the monitor has to stay in the property for 48 hours minimum. So while Rick was doing the home inspection, it was easy for him to place the radon monitor. But what became very difficult was 2 days later, he had to drive back to that property and pick up that monitor. And just logistically, it wasn't working. So we had already invested quite a bit of money into the radon monitor. So we decided that I would take over and I would not take over, but I would start helping him. And I got my license as a radon technician and started helping Rick little by little. And then in 2020, during COVID, my business went away. So as a personal trainer, nobody wanted me to come to their home. My studio closed. That's actually a picture of me in my Pilates studio because I taught Pilates as well. And so 2020, I decided, 25 years of doing something, I think I need a change. So I was full in 100% with Rick. And we started to grow that business. And really what we found was between those 15 years that we were both working, he was working on his business, I was working on my business, we were not doing this together. So when we came together to start working in the House Doctors together, that was our new passion because we were both working towards something together. And we were really starting to see the business increase and grow. So since then, Since then, we have worked together to thoughtfully grow our home inspection business by also offering other types of inspections. We started doing commercial inspections. We started doing new construction inspections. We added more ancillary services. We added indoor air quality, mold testing, sewer scopes. And then we realized that there was another opportunity there to work with other home inspection companies that weren't providing those services and really couldn't do it by themselves. So we started working for other home inspection companies doing their ancillary services, and we brought on board Best Test Radon as a DBA of the house doctors, and that's kind of where our business really started to grow. So one reason why we're up here in January talking is that we've already told you kind of our story of how we started, but I want to tell you another story, and this story is about radon. So it is actually National Radon Action Month this month, so I'm sure most people didn't know that, and probably a lot of people don't even know what radon is. So for those of you who don't know what it is, I'm going to tell you that it is a radioactive invisible gas that is everywhere. It's outside, it's in here, it's in our homes. And what we do is we measure how much radon is in your home. So to also, if you can see that, radon is a cancer causer. It's the #1 leading cause of lung cancer in the United States for non-smokers. And most people have never even heard of it. And for it to be the #1 leading cause of lung cancer is just crazy. So about approximately 38% of homes in Illinois test above the action level. And there's approximately 21,000 people who die every year on this radon-induced lung cancer. So everyone should have their homes tested. You don't have to use a professional like myself. You can do it yourself. But if you are in a real estate transaction, then you do have to have a professional radon person do the testing. But you can get them online. You can buy them at the big box stores. They're available everywhere. And I really encourage and challenge everyone to have their homes tested for the radon levels. So how did radon come to be? If it's invisible, how did they find out that it was in our homes? So I'm going to tell you another story. I told you the story about Carlbergs and how they came to be, and now I'm going to tell you about how radon came to be. So I really put this presentation together to help educate realtors and also the general public about radon, since most people don't know about it or think that it's even fake news, which one realtor nicely explained to me. So let's get back to a time when perms and members only jackets were all the rage.
Oh, look at that family.
So this is an actual picture of Stanley Watrous, his family, his brand new family just moving into Boyerstown, Pennsylvania in January of 1984. I think Rick and I were probably broken up at that. I don't know, makeup like we might have been on, yeah, we were on a break. So Stanley moves to Pennsylvania because he gets a job as a construction engineer working on at the Limerick nuclear power plant. And during the construction phases, they install detectors at all of the exit doors. And so they're up and running. And then there's like massive confusion because the detectors are going off, but there's no nuclear fuel in the plant. The plant is still under construction, so they're not quite sure what's going on, but they do notice that the detectors are only going off when Stanley walks through them. So the safety personnel kind of gets involved and figures out that the radon the radiation is coming from Stanley. So they quickly they quickly try to figure out where it's coming from, and they realize again that it's coming from Stanley and he's bringing it from home. So the EPA gets involved and realizes that they get into Stanley's home. They are basically investigating, trying to figure out what's going on. And at the Watrous home, radiation levels are measured at a whopping 2,700 picocuries per liter of air. That's how we measure radon.
Holy.
So the agents here know what that is. So it's basically like equivalent to smoking thousands of packs of cigarettes a day. That's what so the source of the radiation turns out to be radon. And they move in, the EPA moves into the Watrous house and the Watrous family moves out. And they basically make it a laboratory and figure out where it's coming from, how to mitigate it, and what they need to do. So after testing many types of mitigation systems, the EPA is able to lower those levels down to 4.0 picocuries per liter of air. And what follows over the next decade is that the EPA sets an action level of 4.0, which means if your radon measurement comes above that 4.0 number, then the EPA and other national agencies recommend you mitigate the home. In 1993, even more exposure to the idea of radon happens when the National Association of Realtors begins to urge all Americans to test their homes before moving into a new home. And the NRA also supports and develops legislation around mandatory disclosure. Even though we are seeing many more of our inspections include radon, there are many that go untested. You don't have to wait for a real estate transaction to happen to be proactive about testing and knowing the radon levels of your home. So again, I challenge you all to get your home tested in 2025. Again, doesn't have to be with me. You can do it yourself. If you have any questions, you can always call me and know really what you're breathing. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Gillette?
So does it come from the walls? Does it come from underneath the house? Does it come from the members only jacket?
The perm solution, that's what it's doing. No, so great question. So it's actually in the ground. It's a naturally occurring element. Like, do you guys remember in your biology classes, the big, huge element board of oxygen, carbon? So radon is part of that. And so radon is a naturally occurring element that is in the ground, and it's basically the degradation of uranium, which happens to be everywhere. And when uranium degrades, it degrades into radon, and radon itself is not dangerous, but when radon breaks down, it goes from a gas, a radioactive gas, to radioactive particles that seep into your house from the water, cracks in your foundation, some pumps that aren't covered, construction joists, all those types of things will bring the radon into your home. And that's how you can get high levels. And because homes are tighter than they've ever been, built tighter, there's not a lot of air exchange in the home. So that's how radon levels just kind of accumulate in your home. Yes, absolutely. Mary?
Now, I know the answer to this, but would you explain what radon mitigation is and how it works?
So in the state of Illinois, you are either licensed to be a measurer or a mitigator. So I am only licensed to measure, but mitigation can be fairly easy. It's normally a PVC tube that they put a hole in your foundation. They put the PVC tube into the hole, and then they affix a fan to the PVC tube that is literally sucking the air out from under your house and dispersing it to outdoors. And so it can be dispersed outdoors pretty safely because it's diluted by all the air. And so that there's not any problems. But thank you. Yes, Pat?
What is the cost of professional radon testing?
Great question. So when we test, it's $225 for a test. And you know, we get in there, we know where to place it. It's the protocols of testing are a little confusing. So when people do it themselves, sometimes they don't get accurate readings because you have to place a monitor. It's got many, like you have to be 4 feet from a fireplace, 7 feet from a sump pump, 2 feet from an outdoor window, you know, so there's a lot of little nuances in placing a monitor. So, but yes, it's $225. It's a 2-day, usually 2 or 3 day, depending on when we place it. It stays in your home. The box is very small. It doesn't do anything to your home. And then we get the results right back to you. And then we can explain the results. And we're taking an hour by hour test. So the monitors that we use are literally testing the air in your home hour by hour for those 48 hours. And then we get an average number. Yes, Ellen?
Why can't you also get a license to mitigate?
Because there is a ethics. You know, there could be some problems like I'm saying, oh, Ellen, your radon levels are really high. Let me mitigate them for you. So that's that problem. But a lot of companies have done the workaround where they have a testing company and then on the other side, they have a mitigation company. So, but we just do testing. Yes.
Can you get one of these things on like Amazon?
Yes, absolutely. Google it. You can get them at Home Depot, Menards. And they all look a little bit different, but please make sure to read the directions and follow the directions. A lot of times it's just this little like package. It almost looks like a little pill box. Some of them do. You open it up, you place it where it's supposed to be sitting, and then it sits for 7 days. Then you close it back up. You send it to the state of Illinois and they run the test for you. What happens most times is people just forget about it. And they're like 7 days later, you're like, forgot that thing was in my basement, and then they go and send it in and it's not accurate.
So then you buy the box and you have to pay the state to run it
Yeah,
for you?
it's all part of the box. So I think like they're anywhere between $25 to $50. And then yes, and then the state of Illinois will run it for you.
For 200, so you might as well have you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely, Gillette. I like the way you
Box
think.
back in.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
Come get it.
Yeah.
The state will run it for you.
Yeah, and you know how accurate and dependable the state is. Yes, Mary.
Maybe you might want to explain the testing protocol for the conditions. of the home.
Yes, where they go.
Great idea. Okay, thank you for that. So the testing protocol, because it's being shortened, radon levels actually really fluctuate quite a bit depending on the weather, the season. When we're testing, we have to have the most optimal environment. So your house has to stay closed off, which means you can't open windows. You can leave your house, but you have to close the door right behind you. So those are called closed building conditions, and your house does have to be in those closed building conditions for those 48 hours. There are also long-term tests you can do. So I do short-term tests because it's during a real estate transaction. So we have 5 days to get it done, but you can do long-term, like we had a long-term done it sat in our house for a year. And then you really get a good idea of all of the fluctuations that are happening through the winter and the summer and the spring, which could really, I mean, we had levels of 30 in our house, but then drop down to 2, so if you get an average, then you can kind of get a good idea of what's going on. But the protocols are the 48-hour so it's got to sit for a minimum 48 hours. All your windows and doors, for the most part, have to be closed off. And you can't like have your fireplace going or anything that's going to pull air out of your house or push air into your house. Yeah, you can't. Did you have some?
I just said
Exhaust fans, things like that can't be running during that time. Also kind of a misinformation that's out there is a lot of times people are like, oh, I live on a ranch. I don't have a basement. I don't have to test. That's not true at all. What we say is that you're just closer to the radon without the basement. So, yeah. So that's pretty much it about very exciting radon. Does anybody have any other questions? Yes.
Approximately how long do you have to be exposed to it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, but it's like anything else with cancer. You don't know, like there's no studies as to how long it would take. Like I know that the Watchers family, they're all good. And I think that they went back and lived in their house for many, many years. And I don't know if they're still living there, but no issues, no problems with them. And I don't really know how long they were living there before they found that out.
2,700 is great.
2,700, excuse me?
A long-term test takes a year.
Right.
Well, and yes, and you have cancer.
Yes, and it could be that way. We just don't know.
A long-term test is anything over 90 days, technically.
Yeah, that's true. So anything over 90 days. Yes.
Is the exposure worse in the basement or is it dispersed equally through the rest of that?
So what we find is that as it goes up, it almost cuts in half. So if maybe you're testing, you've got 8 in the basement, maybe on the main floor it's 4, maybe on the second floor it's 2, but that's not an exact science. Yes, yes.
I wonder, since both of them, let's say in this area, have a basement, right?
Yeah.
And 40% of them have radon, give or take. You would think that, and I know that initial mitigation is a pretty straightforward hole in the foundation, PVC pipe, vent up.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't it be like all new construction just has a radon?
That is a great suggestion. Well, actually in 2013, the state of Illinois did require All new construction to be built with what is called a passive mitigation system. So there's two different types of systems. A passive mitigation system doesn't have the fan and just allows the natural flow of air to just kind of get rid of it. And sometimes it works really well, but it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. But what we have found is that a lot of or a lot of builders, they don't care. They're not. Some of them are putting in, like the people in the city always laugh at me when I say, where's the passive system on a new construction test? And they're like, nobody's policing it, right? Nobody's policing it. Nobody's going to go back to the builder and say, hey, I didn't get this put in. So, but most of the builders that we're seeing now are at least putting in the systems, but a lot of times they put the systems in behind walls. So, you know, they put the system in, then they put the wall up and nobody even knows they have a system because it's passive. So,
or just really quick. So she talked about the difference between passive and active, and sometimes the passive systems work and sometimes they don't. So I've tested recently, and it was a townhouse in Elgin, and it was very nice. Basement was finished, fireplace, bar. I mean, just spent a lot of time down there. And the seller tells me buyers are wasting their money. I have a radon mitigation system. So we test and it comes in at 17.4. He's running out the door to get a chest x-ray, and he's wondering why his radon levels are at 17 because he doesn't have the fan. So when you move into a new construction house, the stickers on the pipe, it says radon reduction, and people are getting a false sense of security thinking that they're okay, and they're really not. You need the fan. The fan is the important part of this system.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about all of this. Is impossible, right? Is it limited to the house, that piece of property only, or does it spread to other neighbors? Is it in the entire area?
It's very random. Yeah. So like your neighbor could have no radon at all, and then all of a sudden we test your house and your house is really high. So it's just dependent on the soil underneath your home. It's
But
not necessarily
it is
everywhere.
common, like, it's not uncommon to have a neighborhood that's a little more.
For sure. So for example, St. Charles, for whatever reason, I knew the reason. Somebody did explain it to me. I don't recall why, but St. Charles, I can pretty much guarantee if it doesn't have a mitigation system, though it's high. The city of Chicago, very rarely do we test high in the city. I think in the 8 years I've been testing, I've had maybe 2. Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
I'm just curious, you know, there's people who have more money who can afford to have this testing done. Are there any rules or regulations that require like public housing, lower income housing, that the landlords or companies do this testing?
So yes, another excellent question, because last year was the first year that they kind of added to the law about rentals. So not so much in, like, I know that they are starting to push for schools to be tested and businesses to be tested, but that's not a law right now. They're just really trying to educate people about it. But the new law about renters is that if you move into a place and you test your place and it comes in high, the landlord can test themselves as well using a professional. And if it comes in high, then they have to mitigate. They have 90 days to mitigate. And if they don't, then you can leave with breaking the contract, and there's no recourse there. So that's as of last year. Yeah. Yes, Gillette.
So I know we all think about getting a house inspection when we're selling or buying a house. But let's just say you come out to do this, testing. What are other good reasons why people should have their home inspected after, say, 10 years of living there? What changes? What do we need to see?
That's a great question. I'm going to let my home inspector answer that.
Like 10 years, meaning like it's a newer house, like a 10-year-old house, or after living there 10 years? Or
What's a good reason to, after a decade, to have your house re-inspected for the sake of whatever?
A lot can happen in 10 years. And people, like, when people call to make an appointment, we always ask them, do you have any concerns? You've been to the walkthrough, you've seen the house. Did you see anything that you want to pass along to us? Nope, looks great, everything's fine. They didn't go in the attic. They didn't take the panel cover off the electrical panel. They didn't look up the fireplace flue. They didn't, it's kind of just a cursory look at it. And they're there 10 or 15 minutes with their realtor. We're there 2.5 hours. So we're going to go a little bit deeper. And there's a lot of times where on the disclosure, and I'm not an attorney and I'm not an agent, but on the disclosure, it says, are you aware of this, or this? And the seller says, no. And maybe they're being truthful. They don't know that there's a melting wire in the electric panel because they've never taken the cover off. They don't know the attic's full of mold because they haven't been up there in 10 years. They don't know the crawl space is full of water because they've never looked down there. I mean, things like that. So a lot can happen in 10 years. We have instances where houses are inspected, you know, a month or two ago, and the deal falls through for some reason. And we go to do an inspection and we find other things because people are living in the house every day. They're using all the appliances and the mechanicals, and anything can happen at any time. So we do new construction and warranty inspection, and we find problems with everything. So, yes, sir.
So to give you a
I just want to say that for all of my real estate transactions, I recommend Rick and Paulina.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I've
Alan.
used other home inspectors, but they're far and away the best one I've ever dealt with. One of the reasons is they're honest. The other thing is some of them are nitpicky, like if there is a room needs paint, some inspector will say, oh, the room needs painting, which is not what's necessary in a home inspector. But they're very thorough, and if I ever buy another house, shoot me, but I will have them do my home inspection.
Thank you very much, Alan.
You all heard that, right?
On record.
But in terms of what Ellen was just saying about some inspectors are really nitpicky, we like to say, since we're the house doctors, that we have a really good bedside manner. So we know how to express our findings so that we're not emotionally stressing people out, but really just presenting them with facts.
Disclosure is good for everybody, but it's in the presentation. So if you don't have a GFI outlet in the bathroom, it's not the end of the world. They're $18. It's a remove and replace kind of thing. Should be done. Wasn't done because the house was built in the 60s, but should be something that you should do. Yes, sir.
And Rick doesn't mind if you follow him along and look behind him. That's his favorite thing, is to have somebody snoop over his shoulders.
Oh, yeah.
Reading in the mirror, he loves that.
I saw something on Facebook the other day. Like they bring along the uncle who worked at Home Depot in 1990. Yeah, we deal with that quite a lot.
Diane, did you have a question?
Oh, I was just gonna ask if you work in other states. Do you just work in Illinois? Do you work in Indiana, Wisconsin?
We're
only licensed in Illinois.
But we're here, so an hour in any direction. So we'll go to Aurora, we'll go to Waukegan. We are in the city.
Plainfield,
Yeah, anything within an hour of here.
Ed?
I would say, if you're thinking about testing it, don't get the box. I built 11 or 12 houses. I've sold real estate for 25 years. These are the only guys I use for inspection, exactly for the reason they don't scare the hell out of my client, and they offer suggestions. Gone through a lot of home inspectors that think they know it all, and they have nowhere near the knowledge I have. That's frightening because I haven't built anything in about 8 or 9 years. But they're obviously the mannerism, your expertise. But I will tell you about the box at Home Depot. My neighbor tested his, sent it into the state, and they lost it.
Definitely, yeah, I've heard that before.
2 years ago. If I was for $39, I think at Home Depot, it is absolutely not worth it. Everybody in this room can afford $2 1/4. Get it done right. And if you vent it, no question, have a power venting in there. And Rick is 100% right. Grab it, natural pipe, letting the flow out. I don't think it's effective more than about 20% of the time. And I could be way off, but they put a power vent in. The reason builders won't do it, they won't pay for the PVC is cheap. The power vent and running the electric is what they want to pay for.
But the problem is the builders don't tell their buyers that there's a difference because people I tell have no idea. They have no idea that
the word mitigation, and they think, and the buyer thinks it's okay. And unfortunately, most builders do.
I had a question.
Yes.
Yeah. Please. No, go ahead.
You said an hour from the area. Is that during the special time during the day? It might have to make a difference. Okay, sometimes it's an hour.
If it's Friday at 3:30, I leave early. That's all. That's all.
I think that's a bad question.
Thanks, Rick and Paulina.
Paulina, could you jointly lead us in the 4-way test since you're both members? Just say first.
What?
Just say first.
First.
It's fair, all concerned. Will build goodwill and better friendships. Be beneficial for all concerned. We are the friendly club.
Well, they said. That would be my measure.
Nobody worry about